We're getting down to the end of the program. Now, over across the river, Somerset, they have two power plants. You have the Brayton power plant, and then the, I call it the old Montauk. I think there's a different name. Now, over the years, for many, many years, the emissions from those two plants has covered the city. It traverses the city of Fall River. It's not only in the north end. My understanding, it goes into the south end. It depends on the prevailing wind at the time. Do you have any idea of what could be done about curtailing some of the emissions from that plant, which apparently are toxic?
Well, one of the things that always has bothered me about those plants is the fact that there are environmental regulations which restrict their emissions, but those two plants continually get waivers from the state, and nobody can explain why they get the waivers. Energy costs are rising, and they're rising at an unbelievable pace. And by enforcing the regulations, of course, the power company says we'll have to raise, energy costs to cover the costs of putting scrubbers in and making sure that we're not emitting as many pollutants. But I think that we in Fall River have been, for many, many years, very ignorant of our environment. You look at the Taunton River, there's multiple sites of PCBs and contaminants. You look at Cook Pond, there's multiple sites of contaminants in there. And we need to stop that. And one of the things we need to do as a city is the entire delegation needs to get together, and they need to put the pressure on DEM to say no more waivers. We need to enforce the law. The law seems to keep getting ignored when it's convenient for this legislature and the prevailing companies, and the people are the ones that suffer. The emissions are toxic. The emissions do cause health problems. I'm a registered nurse. I can tell you that people with asthma, people who have COPD, they suffer when those emissions rise and they blow into their homes. So the health costs definitely outweigh the costs to put proper scrubbers in and enforce the regulations and the laws.
Now, the 7th Bristol District, from Columbia Street southward to the Tiverton line. You look right down Columbia Street, down to the waterfront, and over to the left. It's a huge waterfront that your district takes in. Mm-hmm. Do you have any independent ideas about, we talk about, the city talks about the waterfront, but they never do anything about it. This has been going on for decades. We all know it. Would you have any independent idea about what you could do in your own district?
I think our waterfront is one of our most valuable resources that we have ignored for way too many years. And the government has made it more difficult for us to rehab and build upon our waterfront with all the regulations and the legislation that's in effect to restrict access to the waterfront. But Board and Light Marina went in. They've got a restaurant, they've got the marina, they've got a condo complex going up, and they have an expansion of that. And those were improvements to the waterfront. Those were private improvements. I think we need more public improvements and more public development, utilizing private industry. We need to partner with private industry to make our waterfront useful and valuable to our own community, so that people can say, you know what, I want to go down to the Taunton River and I want to fish, I want to swim, I want to boat, I want to just sit there and look at the sunset. We have a beautiful waterfront. I've gone down to Heritage State Park on numerous occasions. My campaign manager, who's a photographer, goes down there regularly and snaps beautiful pictures of the waterfront, the waterfowl, and the entire area. We need to utilize this, and the city, in its continued ignorance of it, many promises are made, but there's never any follow-through. It's time to stop with the promises and to start with the follow-through. You need to have a voice, and that voice needs to be heard.
Now, the South End also has an LNG tank. Now, that tank has been here for 30 or 40 years. Have you have any ideas about that tank as it sits there in the South End? Because we hear so much about the proposed tanks in the North End, but we never hear much about this tank in the South End.
Well, first off, we need to
and let me just interrupt. And trucks traverse the city. loaded with LNG. These like little bombs going around in the neighborhoods.
Exactly.
Any idea of...
Well, you see, and the problem with the tanks in the south end is that they're grandfathered in now. They've been there. So the new law restricting them doesn't apply to them. But I think that if the old, what's now Southern Gas, who owns those, I believe now, because they bought out Fall River Gas, if Southern Gas is not utilizing those tanks to their maximum efficiency or to their maximum capacity, I think that they need to work with us to start removing them. We've seen what happened along Tiverton, along where the old Fall River Gas tanks and lines used to be, all the contaminants in the soil. We need to find out how many contaminants are in the soil at that site and how we're going to rectify cleaning that up and working with Southern Gas on making sure that our citizens stay safe.
CJ, we're going to be running out of time shortly, and I want you to tell the people why they should vote for CJ Ferry. What is he going to do that no one else can do?
My name is CJ Ferry. I want to be your state representative. I tell you now, I will be your voice on Beacon Hill. I have a big mouth. Your mouth can be heard much louder through me than anywhere else. I will represent you full time. I will have an office for you to call locally on a regular basis, and I will listen to your concerns. You can knock on my door, ring my phone, email me, and I will be sure that your voice is heard. I want to represent you in Boston.
CJ, thanks for being on the program.
Thank you very much,
I'd like
Richard.
to see you again. Don't forget, if you debate, stop by. Thank you out there. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week.
Is it true that Chuck Gregory's taken over Gus Sunison's show?